So you're interested in buying an OTC hearing aid then, eh? You, my friend, have found yourself in the right place. Today, I'm running through a full feature review on the all-singing, all-dancing Sony CRE E10 over-the-counter hearing aid to help you figure out a couple of things. So first of all, whether it's worth the $1,300 price tag, and then secondly, if this is the right tech for you, or perhaps Sony's other OTC hearing aid, the CRE C10, may be more up your street. This video is technically part 2 of a 2-part video series covering Sony's answer to the new wave of technology that we're seeing in the US. This follows from the FDA's recent ruling on OTC hearing aids. This ruling stated that as of October 17, 2022, any tech company can technically sell a product labeled as an OTC hearing aid directly to the public without the need for you to see an audiologist beforehand. So, when you're done with today's video, make sure that you check out my feature review on the Sony CRE C10, which is Sony's more discreet, in-the-ear, over-the-counter hearing aid. Now, of course, don't go anywhere just yet. Each of these devices have very unique features, so make sure you watch both of these videos to decide which is the most appropriate for you. I would personally love to know which is more important to you guys watching this today. Discretion or functionality, such as Bluetooth streaming, rechargeability, or directionality, so better hearing in background noise. Let me know in the comments beneath this video today. So what exactly is Sony doing getting involved in hearing aid technology? Their OTC hearing aids are designed to be a way of introducing you to an easy way to manage your hearing loss by buying them either in-store or online and setting them up yourself. Now, there are definitely pros and cons to OTC hearing aids, which I'll cover throughout today's video. But the main point of today is to show you these. Sony, who you obviously all know, collaborated with WS Audiology, who are cemented in the hearing aid world, owning brands such as Widex and Signia. There is absolutely no way that this collaboration happened overnight, as they were ready to go with their OTC hearing aids as soon as the FDA announcement was made. This collaboration really excites me as we have the cool branding and reputation of Sony paired with the experience of WS Audiology. So let's take a look at exactly what they've got in store for us here. The CRE E10 has a similar shape and size to some previous technology that we've already seen from WS Audiology. In my opinion, this is a pretty smart move from the collaboration as they know that the design works and fits in a range of ears. Clearly, this is super important if there are people out there buying hearing aids over the counter and fitting them for themselves. The CRE E10s are designed for those with a perceived mild to moderate hearing loss, and there's a simple and easy setup process using the Sony Hearing Control app. This allows you to test your hearing using the devices themselves, which I'll show you later on in today's video. Unboxing the devices now, it's a simple box and comes with the standard things that come with most earbuds or over-the-counter hearing aids, such as these sleeves, of which there are 4 to choose from to get the most comfortable fitting for your ear. Now, just a quick note while I'm on the subject of tips. They really do have a huge impact on the way that these devices can sound. If they're too tight in your ear, then you'll suffer with what we call the occlusion effect, which is the feeling that you've got your fingers stuck in your ears. If they're too loose, on the other hand, then you may well lack depth coming from the devices. Plus, they won't work quite as well in background noise, so there's a delicate balance to getting the fittings of these right. This, however, isn't limited to these hearing devices. It can happen with any hearing aid technology. And if you're currently wearing any OTC hearing aid and experiencing the occlusion effect, the only way of overcoming it is to have a looser fitting tip on the end to allow more sound naturally in and out of your ear. Alternatively, if you've already tried that and you're still finding that you're experiencing the occlusion effect, you may well have to switch to a device that goes behind the ear. Moving on to the rest of the unboxing. The rest of the kit includes the warranty paperwork, some gear to clean them with, and a USB-C and USB-A cable. The case itself is the charger, similar to a set of wireless earbuds, and a 4-hour charge will give you 26 hours of continual use. This figure will come down the more that you use them for streaming phone calls or media, such as music, but Sony are boasting that they'll still last for a full 23 hours. Now, these numbers might not sound like a big deal, but a lot of the rechargeable OTC devices that I've reviewed so far on this channel have had a battery life of less than 10 hours, which, in my opinion, is a bit of a pain because you don't want to be taking them out to recharge them halfway through the day. Can you imagine having to take off your glasses for a couple of hours as they've stopped working and not being able to use them for a while? It just doesn't make sense. Now, one more point that I really like about the charger is that the case itself provides 3 full days of charge. So if you were to head camping for the weekend, for example, or go on a long flight, all the while that they're in the case, they're still being recharged. As far as cases go, I think that it's pretty neat and compact, and you wouldn't really notice it in your pocket if you were carrying it around. Weirdly, despite it having a battery built into it, it's actually the same size as the case for the battery version for the CRE C10. Yet it has charging capabilities. So from me, that's definitely a 10 out of 10. Taking a closer look at the devices themselves, they're pretty plain, which personally I happen to like, as they're not screaming, "Hey everybody, I'm wearing a hearing aid." They weigh next to nothing and feel well built and solid, as you would expect for something from Sony. The pre-installed sleeve sits on one end, which is pretty soft, and it's definitely comfortable when it goes into your ear. I personally take a small sleeve in my ears, but they have 4 different sizes available for you to choose from, and if you need more, they're available directly from Sony.com. On the outer side here, you'll see that there are 2 directional microphones. This is one of the big advantages of these over and above the CRE C10s, as they only have a single microphone. If you're wondering why this is so important, well, the twin microphones combined with noise reduction plus what's happening behind the scenes with these devices analyzing, adjusting, and optimizing the sound means that if you were looking for hearing better in background noise, these devices would definitely be the best option out of Sony's 2 over-the-counter hearing aids. Finally, on the inside, you have nice and obvious left and right markers, plus the conductive charging contacts. Having Bluetooth in the Sony CRE E10s also means that when they're paired with your cell phone, you can stream phone calls directly to your hearing aids, just like a standard set of wireless headphones. Plus, if you're listening to any media such as the radio, music, or podcasts, that will come straight through to them as well. Sadly, they only work with iOS, so if you're on an Android, they won't have Bluetooth functionality for you. So, who exactly are these devices designed for? Sony state that they're designed for those with a perceived mild to moderate hearing loss who feel that they're technically capable of setting up OTC hearing aids for themselves. In my opinion, these devices will bridge the gap from people not wearing any hearing aid technology at all to then, at some point, looking into a traditional set of prescription hearing aids fitted by an audiologist. Putting them in is pretty easy, and I think it's easier than the CRE C10s, as there's really only one way to insert them. If you have any dexterity issues whatsoever, then not having to change the batteries and them being slightly bigger actually, for me, means that again, these would get my vote over and above the Sony CRE C10s. Comfort-wise, of course, I can feel that I've got something in my ear, but I can tell you from the experience that I've had with traditional hearing aids that if the fitting is right for you, over a very short period of time, it's something that would disappear and just become a part of you. Being the size that they are, they'll pretty much fit in all ears, and I personally think that they do look pretty cool. There's definitely no denying that. Of course, wearing something like this does depend how confident you are on wearing a hearing aid that isn't designed to be hidden. To be honest, with most people walking around with something in their ears nowadays, whether that's headphones, earbuds, etc., I think that the stigma of wearing hearing aids will gradually continue to decrease. These devices come as a blank canvas out of the book, so before they're useful for you, you'll need to set them up for yourself, tailoring them to your specific hearing loss. This process is all done via the Sony Hearing Control app, which is both iOS and Android compatible. The setup process is a little different to the way that other OTC hearing aid manufacturers allow you to personalize your hearing tech, and involves listening to a series of beeps, and then on your smartphone you need to select the number of beeps that you hear. I would 100% recommend that when you're going through this process, make sure that it's done in a nice, quiet listening situation, otherwise you'll potentially end up with the hearing devices set incorrectly for your hearing loss. So I can't stress enough how important it is that you follow the really intuitive instructions on the app itself. Depending on how you get along, the process can take anything from around 5 to 10 minutes, so it's pretty quick and worth taking your time over for more accurate results. After you're done, the algorithm then determines the best predetermined settings for you based on thousands of similar hearing losses. Sony have a pretty smart feature that kicks in at this point if the test results detect that your hearing loss is either asymmetrical, so worse in one ear than the other, or if it's greater than a mild to moderate hearing loss, which is what these devices are designed for. At that point, it will tell you or recommend for you to go and have your hearing tested by a hearing care professional. Now, for me, this feature alone is so important, and in fact, it's something that I flagged as being a cause for concern with OTC hearing aids. Could OTC devices put you at risk of improperly treating your hearing loss? And without a proper assessment from a hearing care professional, could that potentially miss a serious health issue? By removing an audiologist from the assessment process, my concern was that there would be potentially audiological and non-audiological red flags that wouldn't be picked up. Whilst this feature won't identify all of them, at least it shows some initiative from at least one OTC hearing aid manufacturer. Well done, WSA and Sony. When you've been through the setup process, you're now in the driving seat. To start off with, the app prompts you to choose a level which sounds comfortable for you, as it's likely that they'll be a little bit too loud to start off with, which is perfectly normal and to be expected. The app also provides you with a few manual adjustments that you can play with too, such as the volume and tone, which Sony call the sound balance. This is pretty neat, and it allows you to add a greater amount of higher tones and make them sound sharper and clearer, or alternatively, you can reduce them to make the hearing devices sound a little bit more mellow. As mentioned earlier, the CRE E10s also sport twin microphones, which allow for the adjustment of the beamforming and for you to be able to focus the microphones to either side of you or in front of you too. So there are a lot more potential adjustments that you can make to enhance your hearing. So what's it like to use them? Like I say, comfort-wise, they don't really bother me. The important thing to note about the sound is that with any hearing aids, prescription or otherwise, when they're first in your ears, you're probably not going to like the sound of them. It's likely that they'll sound quite loud and tinny, maybe a bit sharp, and possibly a bit boomy or echoey, with a degree of that depending on the extent of your hearing loss and how long you've been without wearing any hearing aids for. One particular feature that I'm a big fan of is their fine-tuning section, which provides you with a list of potential complaints that you may have with the sound, such as for your own voice, speech, or sound quality, and then automatically provides you with adjustments for you to choose from. Over time, and with continual use, the unnatural sound that you first hear from your hearing aids will start to lessen and become more and more normal. The key for you being successful with any of these devices is consistency and wearing them as often as you can. This is why in previous videos I've been on a bit of a rant, and I'm not particularly keen on some of the OTC and PSAP devices out there that advertise their tech to be used for situational use, which essentially means wearing them as and when you want to. In my opinion, I think that this is just because their batteries won't last for a full day, so it's an easy cop-out. And secondly, wearing a hearing aid like that won't help you to acclimatize to the sound, and it's likely to always sound unnatural. Fortunately, Sony don't do that, and they encourage continual use. So if I have one important take-home message for you today, it's that you should be wearing this as often as you can to get the best out of it. So, bearing in mind that these are Sony's first attempt at an OTC hearing aid, here are my thoughts on what's missing. Plus, more importantly, what I think you should know before buying them. Firstly, is the world ready for them? Could you see yourself wearing them around the dinner table in a restaurant with friends? Whilst these devices are hiding in plain sight to look like a cool set of headphones, naturally, if I was with company, I would feel the need to take them out personally. If I had to explain to the person sat in front of me in a restaurant or the person interviewing me for a job that it wasn't an earbud but a hearing device, then it draws attention to the technology, which is technically the last thing that any hearing aid user wants to do. Now, Sony would argue, yes, the world is ready. Apparently, they've sold just as many of the CRE C10s as they have the CRE E10s. What do you reckon? If money were no option, which would you rather go with? Let me know in the comments beneath this video. Secondly, yes, there is Bluetooth built into these devices, which means you can stream phone calls or music directly to them. But it's only compatible with iOS devices. So I wouldn't want you to get them through the mail and be disappointed if you're an Android user. Now, this doesn't mean that all of the other cool features won't work. They will, but they'll purely be an OTC hearing aid, and essentially you'd miss out on the headphone features. Now, my third point is that whilst they'll give you some control over the settings, i.e. the volume or sound balance and the directionality, that's pretty much it. There are some OTC hearing aids out there that have different programs for different situations. You could argue, on the other hand, that this means that there's less fiddling around to do, so it could be a positive at the same time. One thing that I'm really impressed by is what's happening behind the scenes at Sony HQ when it comes to making sure that you have as much support as possible when it comes to this new technology. Sony recognized that audiologists are a very important component when it comes to hearing aid fittings, and understanding that, they've got a team in place at Sony's OTC HQ. Firstly, making a plethora of support videos to guide you through all processes, such as changing the batteries to cleaning them. They also have a structured support system with their Tier 1 support team available to help you with the setup process, and their Tier 2 team, which is made up of audiologists, to help out with specific audiological issues. So I've got another question for you now. Do you think that they solve the hearing aid price dilemma? $1,300 is still a lot of money, there's definitely no question of that. Is it as much as a traditional set of prescription hearing aids fitted by an audiologist? Of course not. But you do get audiological support when you do buy hearing aids through an audiologist. From my discussions with the OTC team at Sony, they're trying to get more audiologists on board to sell these hearing aids and provide ongoing support where needed. I'm also curious to know, if you're an audiologist watching this today, would you be interested in providing that support? And if you're someone keen on wearing OTC hearing aids, do you think you'd need it? Drop me a note on that in the comments beneath this video. So where can you buy them? There are a couple of different options. Firstly, directly from Sony, and I'll post a link in the description to this video. Secondly, WS Audiology state that they're hoping through their audiology network in the US as time goes on. Technically, they are available through Widex, Signia, and Hear USA providers, but they're not available across the board just yet. Plus, you can find them at truehearingandhear.com. Now, if you're not too tired of me, check out this feature review of the Sony CRE C10s, as there are some big differences between the two models. Alternatively, check out this other hearing aid technology video. I'll see you in the next video.